So I'm Jennifer Jorgensen, and this is, of course, Grace Elta, and I had the pleasure of being Grace's fellow at the University of Michigan between 2008 and 2012. And Grace, I just want to say you have been a mentor to me in pretty much every aspect of my life. You taught me clinical skills and technical skills, but you also demonstrated how to be a fair leader and how to navigate being a therapeutic endoscopist and still raising a family. So I just want to thank you for that. And as you know, I still email you frequently with tough clinical cases. So
I love those.
You have continued
emails.
to mentor me, and I appreciate it so much.
I want to thank you for the kind introduction and for saying that. It means a lot.
So Grace is receiving the Schindler Award, which is the ASGE's highest honor. And I truly can't think of a more deserving recipient, so congratulations.
Thank you.
That's why we're doing this interview today.
Yes, I'm very honored to receive the Schindler Award. And as I'll say tonight in my acceptance speech, that I'm the first woman to win that in 62 years, the second woman overall. So,
wow.
You know, that marks a, I don't know, change in times, I think.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. So Grace, you're a pretty well-known figure in GI, so a lot of us know a little bit about you and your career. But I'm wondering if we could start out by having you tell us something that we may not know about you.
Okay, so may not know about me. I come from really middle-class America, working-class parents. They were very loving and caring and wanted their two children to succeed, you know, sort of the back in the 50s model. Wanted them to go to college, but would have never encouraged me to go to medical school. That was sort of outside their realm. Not that they weren't supportive, that just was not anything they would even think of. So, you know, what do I attribute my success to? Chance is always important. And so a little chance and luck here and there. And then hard work, you know, I've always been a hardworking person. And also I think the changing social norms and biases in the 60s and 70s when I went through that stage.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people know that about me. But
yeah. So I think you grew up in Flint, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, Flint, Michigan,
Yeah.
Which has, of course, been on a lot of news not in the good news. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was there, the auto factories were still booming, and so it was, you know, a great town and, you know, alive. Now it's a shell.
Yeah.
Where everything's boarded up, and it's kind of sad. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have had a pretty amazing career. You have accomplished a lot. Looking back over your career, is there anything that stands out as your greatest accomplishment?
Okay, so greatest accomplishment, that's always a tough question. But I think that it would be combining a demanding career with a full family life. I would consider that my greatest accomplishment. To be honest, probably both the career and my family suffered a bit because it's hard to juggle those two. But I never had any regrets at that time, you know, that I was doing that, and I don't have any regrets now looking back on that. So I guess that's probably what I'm most proud of.
Yeah, that is an amazing accomplishment, and I think it's something that many of us struggle with, men and women alike.
Yes.
So do you have any advice for people that are practicing now on how to balance all of those interests?
So this work-life balance is a common topic nowadays, and I'm not sure I have good advice. I think women still face more demands on the home front, and that makes it a bit harder. I think that as long as they, you know, just continue to do their best, that's enough. That's good enough. It really is. And I think that you know, the changing times will make that easier with time. I think there'll be more and more dual career couples, and that'll change things a bit too. So I you know, other than doing your best and not focusing on, you know, gender or underestimating yourself because of gender, just doing your best and getting out there and doing the work. That's what I guess I would say.
And not being maybe too hard on yourself when you
can't
do
everything. And maybe not being too hard on yourself. Yeah. I mean, the truth is that I think a lot of women, including myself, slowed our career somewhat. But that's okay. You know, you're going to work for 35, 40 years.
Right.
If the trajectory of your career is slowed a bit, that's all right.
So, yeah, no, that's a great point.
Yeah.
You don't have to do everything today.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you started your medical training, you must have been just one of a handful of women in GI. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so I remember I went to my first digestive disease week in 1981 as a second-year fellow. First-year fellow, I had to stay back and work, of course. But in 1981, and I attended a Women in GI cocktail party, and it was run by Rosemary Fisher. She said that at that time, 3% of AGA membership was women, 3%. ASGE at that time did not even keep data. They didn't have data on gender, so I'm sure it was lower in the Endoscopy Society. So it certainly, I've seen tremendous change over those years, obviously. I think change occurs very slowly. It doesn't occur in years, it occurs in decades. And even though, we still hear folks lamenting that there still aren't very many women in leadership roles in academic medical centers, etc. There's actually been tremendous change, and I think it just takes a lot of time, but it is happening.
Yeah, I think that the stats that I saw were current fellowships are about 35% women, which is a big improvement from 3%.
Yes.
But I think the leadership roles is less than 20%. So what do you attribute that to, and what do you recommend women do to try and break some of the barriers that may or may not exist?
Yeah, I think as I said, I hate to be a broken record, but I think the change is happening. I was the third ASGE president. The first was in 1954 or 55. The second was 92, and I was 2007, so it was a lot of years in between. But since then, there's been 2 more.
That's right.
I think that time is changing, and it just takes longer than people think it's going to. So I think that cultural biases and stereotypes, and not just about medicine or women in general, take years and years, decades to change, but they do change. I think that's happening.
Yeah, and especially when we have leaders and mentors like you kind of paving the way for us. So
thank you.
Yeah,
Again.
welcome. Yeah. So one of the things that I really appreciated about you when I was a fellow was watching how you worked with your endoscopy team and how you led our department, because you really have a knack for motivating people to do their best, but very subtly. You never yelled. So do you have anything that you can share with us about how you do that, or how we can do that better?
I think that I truly, sincerely believe that every member of the endoscopy team is equally important for that outcome for the patient. And because I truly believe that, the staff learn that I believe that. And I think that's critical. I think that motivates them, because they realize they're an important member of the team. And, we're there to take care of patients and their families. And I honestly think that's the most motivating factor. You have to really believe that in your heart of hearts, that every member of the team is critical to good outcomes and good patient care. And I do believe that.
Yeah, and demonstrate it to your staff. Yeah, let them know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think they all felt very valued by you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think that makes them work harder and try to do better, and they're more motivated. Yeah.
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 That's great. So I know you're coming up on retirement not too far in the future.
Another year.
Another year.
Yeah.
What are your plans, and is there anything that you hope to accomplish that you haven't already during that time? Or?
So, some people would say retirement's burnout and that you keep going. A lot of doctors work forever, until they drop. But I think it's good to recognize when it's time to change, and I think that I'm recognizing that it's time to do something different. I have 3 children and 3 grandchildren and a husband and 2 dogs and lots of hobbies, so I think I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I may go a little stir crazy. My husband thinks I'm going to go a little stir crazy, so we'll see. He may be right. But I think I'll be fine. Right now I'm not planning to do any more patient care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for spending the time and talking with us today.
I appreciate that you took time out of your busy DDW to do this interview,
That was
too.
my pleasure. It was an honor to do it.
Very nice. Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay.
Grace.
Thank you very much.